I'm going to explain the fastest way for you to have 3K in your bank account within 14 days, 30 days maximum. And the reason I say 3K is because I got to 3K per month in 2 months. And I realize now I could have done it a lot quicker. So inshallah, in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 7 steps for you to get to 3K. And inshallah, the one mistake to avoid it so that instead of taking you 2 months, it takes you 14 days. So let's jump right in. First things first is who. I needed to decide who I was going to sell to. You see, the who is the most important question in my opinion, because all the problems, all the beliefs, everything when it comes to how you sell to them, what you price, etc., depends on the who. Let's say you sold to someone who is incredibly rich. Whether you charge them $1,000 or $10,000 isn't really going to matter to them. And that decides your price later on. So for me, in terms of this example, we're going to be going through what I did. And like I said, the mistake you should avoid from everything that I did. Like in these 7 steps, I'm going to tell you a mistake I did in each one and how you can avoid it. I picked entrepreneurs in general. I just picked a really broad niche, which was entrepreneurs. And once I picked who I wanted to sell to, I jumped into straight thing number 2, which is what do I sell to them? And for me to decide what to sell to them, I kind of realized the most important thing for me to understand is their problems. So I understood what problems do entrepreneurs face. And obviously I was an entrepreneur, so I was thinking, what problems do I face? I realized most of my problems actually come from me, my beliefs, my mindset. So I thought, okay, well, how have I solved that problem for myself? Cool, that's what I'm going to offer people. I'm going to offer people mindset coaching. And then number 3, I just created an offer, a really, really simple offer. The offer itself was, I'm going to help you achieve 10K per month in 2 months. Big promise, I know. And if I don't get you there, I'm going to refund you every penny. I'm going to work with you for free. And I'm going to systemize some of your business that I've done previously for my business. Okay. So it was a very, very random, weird offer. And I literally just said, if you're a Muslim entrepreneur, do you know what? At this point, I didn't even work with Muslim entrepreneurs. It was just entrepreneurs in general. I was like, if you're an entrepreneur who wants freedom and who wants to achieve their goals, then this offer is for you. And then lastly, in terms of this like 2-day period, that's it. Let that sink in. I did all of this in 2 days. So within 2 days, not only did I pick my niche, decide what to sell to my niche, create an offer for my niche, but I also started outreaching to my niche within just 2 days. And this is the most powerful thing about this. And this is why I believe I made quite a decent amount of money quite quickly, is because I just did things quickly. It wasn't perfect. And I'll show you how to make every step perfect for you to still, inshallah, make it within the next 2 weeks. Because this is the thing, you're supposed to do it quickly. It's not supposed to take loads of time. So step number 5 was send as many outreaches as I could. And I sent 15 messages a day on average. And this was specifically on Facebook. I used Instagram and LinkedIn and other kind of social medias. But specifically on Facebook, I'd send 15 a day minimum. Minimum a day, I'd send 15 outreaches. Next, in terms of sales. So this was the really unique thing that I did when it came to the sales part, is I literally just sold them what they wanted. So I would ask them 3 questions basically. And I'd say to them, okay, cool, what situation are you currently in? And I'd let them talk, and I'd ask maybe follow-up questions around what situation they're in. And I'd ask them what business they're doing, etc. I'd literally understand their current situation. I then tried to understand their goals and where they were trying to go to. Lastly, I'll try and understand what's holding them back from achieving their goals. And they will tell me everything. They will tell me, oh, well, Fedi, I procrastinate. Oh, do you know what, Fedi? I don't actually have like a client acquisition system. Oh, well, Fedi, I got this, that. So for me, I would figure out, okay, cool. I know the problems they're dealing with. Now, what I'm going to do is offer them the solution to that. And the way I would do it is I'll tell them, are you wanting to achieve this goal? They'd say, yes. Awesome. I was like, so if I could help you achieve this goal without, and then all the problems they were dealing with, right? So that you can, and then talk about their dream outcome a bit more, so that you can retire your parents, do all of that good stuff. Would that be something that you'd maybe look into? Yeah, absolutely, that would. Okay, awesome. Here's what I do. Here's how this can help you. Here's how that can help you. So basically, I would pitch them exactly based on what they wanted. So that's the really cool thing about like selling quickly, is you don't have to have a whole sales script. Genuinely, I'm a big fan of sales scripts, I'll be honest with you. But if you're just getting started, if you're wanting to make money as fast as possible, don't bother building out a sales framework at the start. Right? You will, because this is a framework in itself, but just understand their current situation, understand their problems, understand their goals, and you can sell to them exactly that. You see, most of the time, they wouldn't mention mindset at all. They wouldn't be like, oh yeah, Fedi, my limiting beliefs are holding me back. Like this is holding me back. No. None of that. None of that at all. But what I sold them was the fact that they would achieve those things. They would achieve 10K per month. They would have a client acquisition system, all of that good stuff. And because a lot of the time what I figured out was they knew what they needed to do, but they weren't doing it. And I knew why they weren't doing it. They weren't doing it because of their mindset, but they didn't know that. And I wasn't there to educate them. I wasn't there to tell them why they needed mindset training. I was just there to sell them. And then once they're sold on the onboarding call, I show them the entire plan. I'm like, dude, this is what's been holding you back. Now that they've paid me, they're like, oh my goodness, you're right. Whereas if I try to do that on a sales call, it's a no-go, no-go. So step number 7, the final stage, was looking at all the data I had collected from the outreach and basically changing some things around. So remember the offer I was telling you about? Well, I actually went back and changed my offer and slightly honed in my who, right? The offer that I had was slightly tweaked and I saw how that kind of worked in the market. And then I went out again and I looked at what things weren't working, what things were working. And then I started increasing my price and then I started doing outreach slightly differently, etc., etc. But basically, all of my decisions that I made were actually based on data. None of them were based on how I felt, which I'm really, really proud of myself for, because I didn't get shiny object syndrome when it came to like what to do. All I did was focus on, okay, is this booking me the amount of meetings I want? Yes, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing. Nothing else. I'm going to keep doing the same thing. Even though I got loads of messages of people being like, oh, Fedi, I can't believe you're giving this promise, or oh, 10K per month, I haven't heard that one before. Ha 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 ha. They were basically telling me my outreach was terrible, but it was booking me meetings and it was getting me sales. So I knew something was working and I just kept doing it, even though it wasn't perfect. So out of all of these things, there's a problem in each one of them that I think you can guess which one it was. But I'm going to start with the most important issue or the problem that I dealt with, or most importantly, the mistake that I made. That's what I'm telling you when I say problem. The number one mistake that I made, if I didn't change anything here, would be this. I wish I did more outreach. Because if I did 30, it would have taken me a month to get to 3K. If I did 60, it would have taken me 2 weeks. Honestly, the amount of outreach that you do is going to lead you to making more money. Genuinely. Most of the time, you overthink this entire process, which only took me 2 days. So as soon as this was over and I started outreaching within those 2 days, I started making money. My biggest issue was that I didn't scale this. I didn't do more and more and more and more and more. Because if I did more and more and more and more and more, and I continued raising my price, I would have made so much more money than I did. And that's the really important thing, is that throughout this entire thing, you might be thinking, Fedi, dude, I've got my niche more figured out than you. I got my what to sell more figured out than you did. I sure as heck had a better offer than that. Cool. Well, I made a lot more money than you have already, right? And that's because of this. I kept doing this every single day. And now I just so wish that I did more of this. I genuinely wish I just did more outreach again and again and again and again. And I honestly wish at some point, if I was able to do like over 100 a day, I genuinely think I would have got to 10K per month within 3 months. Genuinely. If I did over 100 a day, I would have got to 10K per month within 3 months, probably even less time. Because my offer, although it was like really simple, it was not that good. The market still liked it. People still liked it. You have to realize to get to 10K per month, all of this doesn't have to be perfect. It generally does not have to be perfect. It has to be good enough. You have to get that into your mind. It has to be good enough. And what has to be done is often the more. I had to send more outreaches. That's honestly the biggest thing I regret, Akhi. Just not doing more outreach. And the second thing I regret is kind of two things actually at once. So we're going to look at number 6. We're going to look at number 1. Number 6 is I just genuinely wish I charged more. So at the start, I was charging $60 per month, right? $60 per month. And once I had 10 clients on $60 per month, I started charging $100 per month, and then I increased it to $500 per month. But I wish I started increasing it a lot sooner and a lot more. So instead of going from 60 to 100, I wish I went from 60 to 200. And instead of going from 200 to 500, I wish I went from 500 or from 200 to 1,000. Because I generally think I would have closed and made a lot more money if I had that conviction behind the price. Because you see, the price, this in itself, what does it reflect? It reflects me, my mindset. It reflects the fact that I don't see this thing as very valuable. That's why I get it at $60 per month at first. When I started seeing people actually succeeding with this, and I remember when one of my clients made their first 2K per month, I was so happy for them. And I realized this works. This generally works. I should have just increased my price sooner. A lot of you are scared to charge a lot of money. And I understand at the start you're thinking, well, maybe I should make my service free. In my opinion, free, sure. Maybe make it on a commission basis. Like have no setup here or anything. Just make it on a full commission basis. But charge what it's worth. Charge. Especially when you sign your first client, start charging straight away. Even if you don't get that client great results, start charging straight away. Because the market will pay you for what the market sees as value. It's that simple. And if you're not seen as valuable to the market, maybe it's because of your skills or anything like that, then sure, it might take you a bit longer, but I generally wish I started charging sooner and charging a lot more sooner. Because if you look at it this way, if I charged $180, let's say I charged $200, I would have had to close 3 times less to make the same amount of money. But I wasn't going to close 3 times less just because it became $200, would it? So I would have made 3 times more money. If I would have closed the same amount. So I would have literally made 3 times the same amount of money or 3 times the money without any added effort, just by increasing the price. Price is important. You generally just want to increase the price. Dan Kennedy says increase the price until you can say it with a straight face. Like if someone says 10K per month and they can say it with a straight face to you, then you're more likely to believe them that it's worth 10K per month. So on that point of increasing how much you charge, if we go here back to number one in terms of the who, the niche, I genuinely wish I was a bit more specific because entrepreneurs is really, really broad. It wasn't until like 4 or 5 months into this business that I actually started targeting Muslim entrepreneurs specifically, but more specifically than that, Muslim business owners. So the thing about that was that I wasn't able to hone my messaging in when it came to outreach. And that's the issue with this, is that because I wasn't able to hone in my messaging with outreach, sometimes it was less effective. And of course, it was effective enough for me to make 3K in 2 months, right? 3K per month, but still, like it still held me back in a lot of ways. So being more specific would have 100% helped me. So if I was to do that in terms of helping you imagine that, like the niche that you've currently picked, see if you can zoom in even more. Genuinely, I remember being in the dental niche with my first agency. I sometimes wish I just went with what are they called? Like cosmetic clinics. Honestly, there's a lot less of them than just general dental practices. But hey, if I was more specific, I could have made an offer which was much more specific to them. And in terms of what to sell, this is probably the least important one in my opinion, genuinely. This is the least important one because I had this figured out quite quickly. So instead of going to number two, the third biggest problem I did was the outreach itself. I took too long, in my opinion, to start outreaching. I know you're thinking, Fedi, but you did it in 2 days. Yeah, that's still too long. Because once I figured out what I want to sell, but not even that, once I figured out my offer, I should have started then and there. I shouldn't have waited to kind of perfect the system. Although it didn't take me a long time to do. If you're curious what system I'm talking about, by the way, I have a whole, like, it's literally like a course on it on YouTube. So I'll put it at the end of the video and I'll put it in the description. Feel free to watch it after this video. But basically, I wish I just started the entire process sooner. I wish I actually started outreaching as soon as I knew who it was. Genuinely, as soon as I figured out who it was, I wish I just started outreaching. Because not only would it have increased the number of outreach that I would have done, but it also would have given me an idea on what to sell and what my offer should be. So that for me is the next thing that I want to talk about. And the last thing, to be honest, in terms of the fourth biggest problem that I had around these two. The reason I knew what to sell was because I studied my competitors, which I recommend you to do. I recommend to look at your competitors and what they're doing. Because all the hard work they went through planning and strategizing and everything like that, even if your competitors are doing terribly and they're not making a lot of money, look at what your competitors have done, especially the successful ones, actually. Look at what your successful competitors are doing. Based on my competitor, who I won't say who it was, but looking at my competitor, I had a good understanding of what I wanted to sell, which was mindset coaching, because he was doing really, really well in that niche. And based on the offer that he was selling, I kind of copied it slightly. So for me, these two were already done based on my competitor. So I could have actually done these a little bit quicker if I took my research a bit more seriously and I just looked at what my competitor was doing. That's it. Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I know you're attached to this business line and you think it has to be unique to you, but either way, it's not going to be unique to you because you don't matter. The market, the person you're selling to is who matters. And if they find it valuable because of the what you're selling and the offer itself, whether it's you or someone else, they don't care who it is, they care about what it is. That's the really important thing to remember. You might argue, well, Fedi, they do care who it is. Well, yeah, that's when brand starts coming in and things like that. But the main point in terms of what they offer is what's the most important. So on this point right here, I wish I did it sooner as well in terms of taking my research more seriously. And the reason I say I wish I did outreach first, even when I just figured out the who, is because I think my offer would have been a lot better if I actually did outreach and understood what people wanted and what they wanted to be offered. Genuinely. If instead of jumping on sales calls straight away, I did a little bit of research for the first 5-10 calls. Like I outreached to people saying, hey, do you want to achieve 10K per month in the next 6 months? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, awesome. Well, look, I just want to do a little bit of research. Are you happy for me to ask you a couple questions? Yeah, feel free to. Okay, awesome. What do you think would help you the most? How would you want that to help you? And what offer could I build around that? I would have literally asked people in my niche and then I would have done it. And then bam, I would have had this sorted out for me, this sorted out for me, all within probably a day, generally, because I could figure out who I want to sell to in 20 minutes, all within a day, bam, done. A lot of you overthink this process, overthink this process, overthink this process, and never get started with this entire thing down here, which is why you're still broke. Genuinely, that's why you're still broke. So if you want to make 3K in the next 2 weeks, do exactly as I said. You probably won't do it. That's okay with me, right? I just want to give you as much value as I can. So do it if you can. Do it if you're brave enough. Have tawakkul on Allah. Like realize that this entire process, the reason it succeeded in terms of my mindset was I knew that Allah Azza wa Jal was taking care of me. right? I knew that Allah was going to help me do this if it was meant to be, as long as I started taking the action and improving over time. Because even if your offer is terrible, even if you don't exactly know what you're selling, if you know who you're selling to, you start outreaching to them, and then you keep outreaching to them every day, you will probably have a sales call. And in that sales call, if you follow the framework I told you, even if you don't have a script, you can probably sell to them. And then if you do make decisions and you change some things, and this is the one thing I did perfectly, alhamdulillah, I didn't do badly at all in number 7, was literally just make the decisions based on the data that you get. So Habibi, wallahi, this is everything you need, akhi. Yani, all this 7 process, if you just did it, and maybe you took a little bit more time than I did on this, you will make a lot of money. You will generally make a lot of money, especially when you focus on avoiding the number 1 mistake that I made, which was not doing more outreach. I wish I scaled this. Wallahi, I wish I scaled this. Khas, as we say in Tunisian. But anyways, Habibi, hopefully you found this valuable. Again, don't forget to watch the video, specifically when it comes to outreach, about how you can outreach so effectively, about how this system was able to book me 10, I think it booked me like 45 meetings in a month. So how can you go and do that without actually having all of this figured out? Genuinely, like you could just apply the outreach and it will work really, really good. So go watch that video. It's going to come up now at the end of the screen. Don't forget to subscribe, Habibi. And inshallah, I'll see you in another video. Assalamu alaikum.